Jazeera journalist Anas Al-Sharif. Well, there's a lot happening, so let's get the view from Israel. Miri is a former IDF colonel and security expert, joining us now from Tel Aviv. Miri, thank you for your time. I want to begin, Miri, by considering that press conference yesterday and the outline of Benjamin Netanyahu's 5 principles. What do you see as the realistic endgame for Israel's planned military takeover of Gaza City as it stands?
The important part is that the Prime Minister of Israel, for me as an Israeli, both in English and in Hebrew, outlined for the first time for me, Alex, that for the first time we heard what is his full view. And that means that he sees taking over the Gaza Strip, being in a security control. This isn't about my agreeing, but at least he said it in a clear way. And I think that militarily, that is something that you can achieve. Does that destroy Hamas? I don't think so. Will that bring back 20 live hostages and 30 dead hostages? I'm not sure. But at least it's a clear vision. And I don't underestimate the fact that I understand now what he's trying to achieve, even if I disagree with it.
I think many of us are still trying to understand what it is he's trying to achieve, especially as many have said, including Israelis military and the Hamas families themselves, that by doing this, you are going to endanger the lives of hostages.
So the Hamas is the terror organization, and the Prime Minister said this yesterday, and I want to be clear, I don't support this Prime Minister, but when it comes to the military action against Hamas, the terror organization, not just the ones who did the attack on October 7th, 22 months ago, but those that have been ever since holding the hostages and using them in such a cynical way, what the Prime Minister is saying, in his opinion, is that if we take over all of the Gaza Strip, that will, in its own way, destroy Hamas's capability. Militarily, I want to be clear, that is a military achievement. That doesn't mean we won't have casualties. It doesn't mean there won't be both non-combatant casualties and more Hamas, but it is a clear-cut taking over of it all. I think that what I missed there, and I'm saying this militarily, is if we take over both the Gaza City and all of the Gaza Strip, then from my point of view militarily, we are responsible. And I didn't hear the Prime Minister saying that. What he's saying is, we'll take it over, and then somebody else will be responsible. And you can't play it both ways. If we take it over, we are responsible. And I say that because I don't think that right now we are responsible for Hamas that attacked us, for taking care of all of these people that Hamas attacked at. Hamas could stop at any stage, and because they are responsible, and they do not take any responsibility for what they do.
And I appreciate the point you're making about military, but I think many would argue that that Israel are responsible for what has unfolded in the Gaza Strip, whether or not they completely control the entire Gaza Strip. And I know it is something in the region of 75% at the moment that they control. I want to ask Miri, there are reports that suggest there is growing fatigue and dissent within the IDF, concerns from the IDF's chief of staff we heard just last week about the humanitarian crisis this would lead to, and the international condemnation which has been growing. How, as an IDF yourself, how ready are reservists to answer this call to escalate, and how strong is the support for this?
So we're after 22 months of war, and I want to give you the two sides of that. You know, I'm a colonel reserve, my husband's a colonel reserve, all 3 of my kids serve. In Israel, everybody serves. We don't voluntarily serve, we are drafted, but afterwards we're part of this country. So it isn't that everybody now is saying we're not going to serve for that. We all want the hostages back. In this case, we're talking about what do we want in addition to the hostages? Can we destroy Hamas or not with military capabilities? But I think you'll agree with me that you and I both don't want to be people like me sitting in Tel Aviv, where there is on the other side of that border an organization that not on October 7th, since October 7th, for the last 22 months, continues to call to do another type of attack like that. So the reservists are willing to fight. What we're not willing to do, and I say this as a reservist, is when you're fighting and you feel that additional decisions that are made by this government are ones that you really disagree with. And here I will go out and protest a lot of the government decisions, not necessarily the ones that have to do directly with the war. But it's not that I know what's right and they are doing it wrong. different opinions on what you do against Hamas when they took the hostages over the last 22 months. And we hear that dissent all the time. A lot of different voices here.
Yeah.
I think the military will fight. I'm not sure how effective it will be.
Yes, and on the subject of strikes you just mentioned, we know there's a push for a nationwide strike to be called next Sunday. I mean, this is being driven really by the hostage families, their desperation. How effective do you think this will be, given that the biggest workers' union in Israel have yet to agree to it?
So at this moment, at least in the Israeli press, the head of the main union that's really for the overall one has said they wouldn't participate. And I'm already seeing in Israel that that's a big deal. I'm going to say the following. It's really bad when it comes to statistics. It doesn't give the nuance. 70% of Israelis support, do something, get the hostages back. That doesn't mean that they say don't fight in the Gaza Strip against Hamas, not against incombatants. They're just all mixed up. So the strike itself is something that has an effect. In the year before Hamas brutally attacked us on October 7th, in the year before that, there were two very big strikes that union did as part of the demonstrations against the government of the state of Israel. What can you do in a democracy? You can go on strike and you can protest. Those are the two tools you have for your democratic upheaval, and we're going to continue to do that. It's important. I'm not sure that this one's going to be, again, as effective, because it's not going to make Hamas give them back. And I'm going to say, sadly, the military action, I'm not sure will bring them back. And yes, negotiations don't make it easy. So all of those who want an easy way out, there is no easy way out.
All right, Miri, it's very helpful and grateful to have your thoughts at this hour. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.